Hello and welcome back to Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. My name is Maybe Dennis, and last time, well, we stepped into the shoes of Ruby Tymora and started the case with her as our, ace attorney, or defense attorney for Beatrice Frega, who was convicted for murdering her father for, murder and, I guess, larceny. Or, it was grand theft or whatever it was. But, after, we found out that Steelwind was actually severely injured and needed to be removed, Tyrion stepped up to take the prosecutor's seat, which is very different. And then we fast forwarded, or actually flashed back to what actually happened in the case. So we went to the Lord's Ball, just found some stuff, met with Prince Aster and his brother, as well as Steelwind. Oh man, Celeste and Steelwind had some gorgeous outfits. We also had a nice little dance with Celeste, and then things went down. But we're going to continue with the story today, so let's see what is up next. Alright, are we still going to be investigating? Yes, we are. We are not done with the investigation. I can't believe they kept us here until noon. The Lord's Ball was already running well into the night, even before the murder occurred. You'd like nothing more than to catch up on your lost sleep, but you made a promise to Aster. This doesn't make any sense. Beatrice was with me and my brother the entire night. Right, you were there when she met with him in Steelwind. She couldn't have stolen the sword of spell-eating and have murdered her father. I don't understand. Of all the people that could have done this, why would Steelwind suspect a blind woman? Mr. Cuthbert, could you defend Beatrice against these awful charges? I don't think I even need to. What? Beatrice is Ruby's client. I'm sure that she'll be the one defending her. Well, that certainly puts my mind at ease. His mind is not at ease. What's wrong? I don't know if I'm asking too much, but could you still investigate the crime scene for me, Mr. Cuthbert? What? We just said that Miss Tymora will... I know. I don't doubt her abilities. But Beatrice is a dear friend of mine, and I'd like every chance for her to be found innocent. He said that she was a dear friend. They must know each other since she's a Frega. But why would Miss Tymora, of all people, represent a member of the noble house? That's a good point. She's usually fighting against them. There's still a lot of things that you don't know about her. Of course, I'll also compensate you for your services. Oh no! We find out that we're going to be on Steelwind's side because we're going to be convicting her. Ugh, yeah. Consider yourself blessed. A commoner like you could only dream of a job like this. Oh my, I hate you, you little shit. Alaric. The tiny prince has a point though. A payment from the crown prince does sound tempting. I can't believe this. Celeste returns to the ballroom. She changed back into her normal clothes. Aww. What's wrong? The people in the coat room said that they couldn't find my sword. They told me that someone must have stolen it. Oh. What? Celeste's missing sword. When Celeste went to the coat room to change, she was told that her sword had gone missing. Someone else must have taken it. That's really extremely bad security. Why would someone want to steal Celeste's sword? Are you gonna be framed for murder? Are we gonna have to defend you again? Aside from your group, everyone else at the ball wasn't an aristocrat. You do recall her saying that it was forged in the Eastern Kingdoms. Someone must have stolen it because of its rarity. You can probably keep an eye out for it while we investigate the manor. This might just all be some kind of mistake. I hope so. But anyways, where should we start? We should head to the crime scene. I remember hearing that they found Lord Frega's body in his study. Let's go over there. Alright, but first I want to see the sword. Okay, they do not look the same. Gotcha. Pretty different, actually. Let's talk to her. The investigation. Are you worried about your missing sword? No. Well, yes, I am worried. But I'm sure it'll turn up eventually. Oh. She's trying her best to hide how worried she is. You hope you're able to find her sword somewhere. Let's look at the place now. Okay, it's different. Each of these tables have a centerpiece of flowers on it. To be honest, it kinda looks tacky. Their notion of aesthetics must fly over the heads of peasants like us. Alright, chandelier. These chandeliers look fancy enough to be worth a small fortune. The banking houses are loaded, aren't they? Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Preparing Arcanum.
No magic. Alright, we're done with this area. Let's move. Actually, before we move, did you know that I'm an attorney, please? No, no one knows that I'm an attorney. I'm kind of curious what she thinks about some of the older people that we've met before, like Wallace. I never expected to see Wallace with Steelwind. I wonder why she'd choose him of all people as her aide. Maybe she's trying to copy us and turn me into mage. But she can already cast Detect Magic. She's a mage. Come on, that's not the only thing I do. You can use this disguise and break the law. What do you think of Beatrice? Beatrice has been through a lot, hasn't she? From what we heard about her father's cold behavior, I don't blame her for leaving. She probably wanted to leave her old life behind. You two are similar in that regard. Alright, what about Steelwind? I noticed that you were teasing Steelwind earlier. Well, she started it. By doing what? It's none of your business. Okay. What about Ruby? What do you think about this, Celeste? Oh wow, nothing on Ruby. What about Miriam? Miriam seems different now. She's a lot less arrogant. She must be going through a lot. She unexpectedly lost her father, and her long-lost sister is being charged with murder. Yeah, you know, as much as I didn't like Miriam, because she was such a brat, she's going through a lot right now. I can't really blame her for that. The victim. William Frega doesn't sound like the best person, does he? Too many people in Wyverngard live in poverty, yet he's able to afford this extravagant house. You don't live a life like this without hoarding wealth for yourself. Tyrion. But like anyone else, even he deserves justice for his death. What do you think of like the little boy? Aw, nothing. I thought because like she was, you know, there, could have said something. But I guess not. And she hasn't met Harold. Oh wait. Okay, I was like, she hasn't met Harold, so she probably wouldn't comment on him. Harold Harrowton has to be some kind of stage name, right? Who would actually name their child that? I think you're getting way too hung up on his name. Like, did he also name his child that? Does he have children? He has a pet monkey. You're just making things up now. No, the monkey's the most important part. What about the sword of spell eating? A sword forged by a demon. Do you think the legends are true? Tyrion? Oh, sorry, I just got a little distracted. The Av Horus can't possibly be demonic, can it? Beatrice is blind. Oh, is this gonna be the same thing about Beatrice? Should have expected. Alright, let's go to the study. Oh, that guy is no longer here because he's dead and taken away. You arrive at the crime scene and see the usual swarm of Inquisition knights. However, you also spot some members of the King's Guard. They must be working together since the victim is one of the Pillar families. I wasn't expecting to see you here, Mr. Cuthbert. Oh, back in her normal attire. I thought Ruby Tymora was defending this case. Prosecutor Steelwind approaches you as you enter the study. And she's followed by an unexpected yet familiar face. Wallace? Okay. We're like, it's really funny how Steelwind is like getting Wallace to accompany her. Wait, Wallace, you're here? Not accidentally, but I presented Wallace to Celeste a little bit too early. Wallace, what are you doing here? He's here as my aide for the investigation. You don't doubt Wallace's abilities, but you can't think of any reason why Steelwind would need his help. But you suppose it's none of your business. Anyways, we're here on the behalf of Crown Prince Aster. He hired us to investigate this case independently. I see. I'm sure he just wants to make sure the investigation goes smoothly. Well, if you're here on the behalf of His Highness, I'll do whatever I can to help you. The whole situation is quite unorthodox, but your goal remains the same. Perhaps Steelwind can tell you more about what happened. But first, let's— Oh! What's wrong? You can't see it, but the entire room is covered in traces of abjuration magic. Everything is glowing white. Right, that makes sense. There were several anti-magic fields covering the manor. Those fields probably left traces of abjuration everywhere. I won't bother showing you the traces of abjuration I find while we're here.
Repario Arcanum.
Alright, she filtered it. Actually, who can use abjuration? I'm still not exactly sure what abjuration is, but so Beatrice uses illusion. I mean, I know they said it was from the field, but so it might not actually be someone using magic. But you never know. Let's look at this. There's a trace of illusion magic where the body— Whoa, okay. That's not good. Beatrice uses illusion magic. The assailant must have used some kind of magical disguise. Or they turned themselves invisible. Autopsy report, William Frega. Died at blah blah blah. Body shows several scratch marks on the face and back. Traces of illusion magic were also found on the body. So, Body shows several scratch marks on the face and back. I'm not gonna lie. What that makes me think of was like, he wasn't attacked by a person, but maybe a monkey. Monkey! Yeah. That's a little jumping the gun, so I don't really want to say anything too substantial at the moment, but let's look at this painting. It's a painting of some sort of scholar. There's some text next to it. Rook Rezingar, economic scholar and aristocratic accountant. He is known in some circles as Rook the Crook. No, Cook, the Cook, due to his ability to cook the books of the four pillar houses. Oh, Rook the Cook. Sometimes I wish I could have a nickname like that. What about the Crimson Demon? Not that one. Fireplace. It's a fireplace. Could the murderer have entered through here? That wouldn't be possible. The chimney is far too narrow. Even a small child wouldn't be thin enough to fit through it. Ah, I see. Books. There are several books about economics and politics. It doesn't look like there's anything of note. What about this? There's a window that leads into this room. Could the murderer have escaped through here? No, the window doesn't open and the glass is magically reinforced. The desk. There's a large mahogany table at the end of the room. Lord Frega must have done his work here. It's a bookshelf filled with books. I wonder what kind of books Lord Frega owned. Wait a minute, they're all blank! All of his real books are on the floor or his desk. He's a liar. A cheat, that's what he is. Alright, let's see the body. There's a pool of blood and chalk outline where the body must have been. Alright, I think that's all for examination. Oh. Alright. Let's see what she thinks about Beatrice. I think I'm lacking a lot of information about Beatrice Frega. From the way we were both acting, you and Aster seem to know her. Your mentor didn't tell you about her? No, I tried not to pry into her business. I see. Honestly don't know much about what happened either. But Beatrice was Lord Frega's eldest daughter and former heir to our house Frega. Former heir? About 5 years ago, she fled Frega Manor and went into hiding. None of us knew where she had gone, or even if she was still alive. Last night's ball was the first time in years that Aster and I had even seen her. Beatrice Frega fled from her family 5 years ago and went into hiding. Until the night of the murder, many of her friends and family members hadn't seen or heard from her. But if that's true, how did Miss Timura meet her? That's a good point. What about William Frega? What can you tell me about William Frega? He was a chauvinistic pig. Wow, that's pretty blunt. My family has been at odds with the Fregas for as long as we can remember. My father is probably salivating at the thought of House Frega losing its head. Yeah, man, aristocratic families seem... yikes. Why would Harold keep such a dangerous weapon on display? There's value in remembering and honoring our kingdom's history, especially the unsavory parts. Anyways, the exhibits were heavily protected. Only a powerful mage like Beatrice could have broken into them. So even Steelwind would consider Beatrice to be a powerful mage. What about this sword? Steelwind! Did the Inquisition happen to find my sword anywhere? Your sword? I can't say I've heard anything about it, and I'm sure the Inquisition would have recognized it. Aww. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll find it somewhere. Yeah. I still fail to understand how you think Beatrice broke into the Heraldton Secure exhibits. The thing I shared this time was the, Heraldton Security. Despite being blind, she was an extremely powerful and learned mage. Her abilities surpassed that of even her father. It's really a shame that this is how it all turned out. What do you know about this little brat? Nothing, okay. I haven't seen Commander White since last night. He's currently collecting statements from the witness that night. I hope he's competent enough to do that correctly. Right, he hasn't had the best streak as of late. Is this the first time you faced off against Miss Timura? No, I've prosecuted her defendants before. I've actually had the better track record of convicting her defendants over yours. Wait, really? I wouldn't let that inflate your ego though. You're clearly more picky about who you defend. What's that supposed to mean? You tend to pick defendants that you are sure are innocent. I mean, I'm sure Miss Timura does that too. She's like, I doubt that. What about my lovely assistant? I apologize that your investigation didn't lead anywhere, Miss McCoy. No, it's fine. My expectations weren't that high coming into this. But I still want to try, you know? If only I could have that much optimism. Actually, speaking of yourself, What do you think about yourself? We somehow always end up meeting each other, don't we? Well, it can't be helped. We work on opposite sides of the same profession, after all. Although, I am remiss that I still don't know much about you, despite our many meetings. Would you like to go somewhere together in the future? Oh. I'm only joking. I'd never think of asking you out in front of your lover. Wait, what? Oh, Celeste is... You find yourself stammering over your words. I'm your what? Oh, look at her. We see her smile. Oh. Wait a minute. Is this payback for last night? You're mistaken, Miss McCoy. I have no idea what you're speaking of. Oh, that was really cute. Oh, what about me? Okay, no, it's... Oh, wait, no. It's not the same. I was quite surprised to see you two at the Lord's Ball yesterday. Yeah, it's a long story. Clearly, you came accompanied by Beatrice Frega. She was the last person I expected to see that night. You sensed some disdain in her voice. I guess the last profile I want to present would be Wallace, because she brought him here. Not that I doubt his skill, but why choose Wallace as an aide? Well, I have my own reasons for choosing him, and he does owe me. Yeah, if it weren't for Miss Steelwind, I wouldn't be able to continue studying necromancy. You've been able to continue studying it? Yeah, Miss Steelwind introduced me to Lord Asclepius. I think that's the... Lord Asclepius. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation since I suck at names, but if I recall correctly, isn't this like the one of the gods of medicine in Greek mythology? I think so, so that's appropriate. And if it's Greek mythology, maybe this is also part of House Sybil. Because it's a lord. We'll see. He belongs to one of the few noble houses that are still allowed to study necromancy. Unfortunately, because of that, they hold very little political power. I'm just glad I was able to continue my studies. Aw, that's nice. And one last one. Do you know who this is? Nah, of course you don't. Alright, let's talk to her. The murder. What can you tell me about the murder? William Frega was found dead in this room after the lockdown was lifted. Wait, lockdown? What lockdown? From what we can tell, his throat had been slashed open with a letter opener. The cause of death was blood loss. Both his carotid arteries were severed. Here's the autopsy report if you want a detailed description. Were you able to find the murder weapon? Yes, the murderer left it at the crime scene. It was a letter opener owned by the victim. The murderer must have found it inside this room and used it. There was one strange detail about the weapon. The handle was completely shattered. We're not sure what to make of that detail, but it's as if something crushed the handle using tremendous force. Something crushed the handle. That makes me think that maybe it was a contraption. It wasn't like a person that killed him. I wonder. Alright, murder weapon. Type clue. The murder weapon was a letter opener with House Frega's crest on it. Where is it? Where is it? There's no crest here. It must have been owned by the victim. Its handle was completely shattered. It would have taken a tremendous amount of force to crush it like that. What could have caused the handle to shatter like that? The lockdown. You mentioned that there was a lockdown. When did this happen? You didn't notice? The Inquisition did try to be discreet, but everyone noticed the commotion Beatrice and the two princes made over it. I suppose you two must have been lost in your own little world, weren't you? Oh, I was during the dance. Well, anyways, you said that Lord Frega's body was found after the lockdown. That means that something else must have happened prior. Supposedly, someone had broken into one of the Heraldton exhibits. Oh, one of the magical artifacts was stolen. So there was a theft last night. Does this manor lockdown system behave like the one at the Imperial Academy? The systems are somewhat different. Unlike the Imperial Academy, the lockdown only prevents people from leaving or entering the manor. So not all of the rooms were locked, but what about this specific room? This room does have abjuration walls that lock the door and prevent teleportation in or out of it. In addition to that, the system placed an anti-magic field over the manor. An anti-magic field? What is that? Come on, man! You talked to Harold Haraldson about the anti-magic science and how like when they overlap they don't work. Or at least the shared area doesn't work. Anti-magic field is a spell that nullifies all magic within it. Oh yes, there we go. We got our first thing. Our first spell, I believe. Wrong place. Here are the spells. Oh no, we have Familial Bond. Oh, I forgot about that. Anti-magic field. School. Abjuration. Incantation. Cauteria. Gesture. None. Duration. Indefinitely. Concentration. Yes. While concentrating on this spell, the caster forms a 10-foot radius sphere that nullifies all magic within it. Any spell effect that enters the sphere instantly dissipates, and any mage that tries to cast a spell within this zone will fail to do so. If this zone of anti-magic overlaps with any other magical nullification effect, the two effects will cancel each other out. And the system somehow covered the entire manor in this effect? If you notice, there are several purple crystals embedded into the walls of the manor. Oh, those are the anti-magic field things. I thought they were just decorations for light, like at the McCoy Tavern. Each of those crystals produces an anti-magic field during the lockdown. Lockdown system has been updated. Oh wait, no, it has been added. Okay. The lockdown system covers the entire manor. Once activated, it creates a magical barrier that prevents anyone from leaving or teleporting out of the building. In addition to this, it covers the entire manor in an anti-magic field. Within this field, any and all magical effects are nullified and disabled. However, anyone physically or magically connected to the Sword of Spell Eating would be immune to the effects of the anti-magic field. So no one could cast magic during the entirety of the lockdown? Not exactly. Someone could have used the stolen artifact to circumvent it. I see. Stolen artifact. You mentioned that someone could have used the stolen artifact to get past the anti-magic fields. Which artifact was it? It was the Sword of Spell Eating. That was a demon forge item that could supposedly nullify magic. If the legends were true, someone could have used it to counteract the lockdown system. After Lord Harrington reported the theft, the Inquisition discreetly placed the manor on lockdown. They searched every room in the manor to try to find it, but it was eventually found in Beatrice's bedroom, and that led them to believe that she had stolen it. Sorry. Oh no, I'm skipping past it. And that led them to believe that she had stolen it. That's correct. The King's Guard moved to arrest her, but Prince Aster ordered them to step down. And it didn't look like she was planning on fleeing, so they planned to wait until after the party had ended. Oh wow, was that quick? Was that when she was mad already? Huh, yikes. But then they found Lord Frega's body. Correct. We believe that she used the stolen sword to nullify the magical locks and break into Lord Frega's study. But if she had the sword, why wouldn't she use that to commit the murder? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not entirely sure. We have a few working theories. She might have wanted to prevent the theft from being tied to the murder. Or perhaps she had more confidence in wielding a knife over a sword. Regardless of her reasons, it's clear that the sword wasn't the murder weapon. She's not just being implicated, she's also being charged with stealing the Sword of Spell Eating. But what possible reason would she have done either of those crimes? Lord Frega in the study. So the body was found here. Was Lord Frega locked in this room until the lockdown? Yes, William Frega knew that this room should have been secure. He was supposedly in a bad mood, and had locked himself in this room for most of the night. He refused to let anyone into the room. The only person he spoke to after that was his daughter. His daughter? Are you talking about Miriam? No, Lord Frega had another daughter. Leafa? Leaf? I'm referring to Leaf Frega, Lord Frega's middle child. She tried to tell her father about the theft, but he was apparently preoccupied with something else. He said that he wanted to stay in the study for the rest of the night. When did this happen? It was shortly before the lockdown was activated, a little after 1 AM. I see. Oh, we have a picture of her. She has a different hair color, and a different eye color. So either, those are gotta be some really strong recessive genes. Or maybe adopted. Huh. Leaf's testimony. After meeting with Beatrice Frega, William Frega retreated into his study and locked himself into his study. He refused to speak with almost anyone who tried to disturb him. The only person who he spoke with was Leaf Frega. She told him about the theft of the Sword of Spell Eating a little after 1 AM, but William Frega didn't seem to care and returned to his business. Leaf must have been the last person to see Lord Frega alive then. You should speak with her and get more details about Lord Frega's actions that night. By the way, Steelwind, do you have a map of the manor? I do. Would you like a copy? Please and thank you. You got a map. Floor 1. Oh god, are there going to be multiple floors? Or are they just giving us this because that's where the crime was committed? Okay, it's a map of the ground floor of the Frega Manor. It shows the rooms relevant to the case. Oh, yeah, okay. I was wrong! It's a map of the second floor. Shows rooms relevant to the case. Alright, let's take a look at that, actually. So we have 2. Okay, so the ballroom, and then there's storage. There are a lot of studies, but I don't know which one is the main one. Here's a coat room and a stairway. And let's look at the second one. Beatrice's bedroom. That's where the murder weapon was found. All three sisters are here. William's bedroom. So I guess he was killed in the study, which is on the first floor. He was killed really close here. What's on top of that, actually? I just want to make sure. Okay, it would be the bath. Alright. Well done. What about the witnesses? Were there any other witnesses aside from Leaf who saw Lord Frega that night? Perhaps someone who heard what happened from a nearby room. There was someone who heard the altercation, but it was quite obscure. A servant was trapped in a storage room nearby. There's an air vent that connects to this room with that storage room. They supposedly heard sounds of a struggle through that vent. Wait, I need to look at the maps again. I want to see where the storage room is and where the study is. So, second floor has nothing. And the first floor, the storage room and the study are very close. They're literally next to each other, so that's possible. What did this witness hear? There are sounds of a struggle before he heard Lord Frega choking on his own blood. When the lockdown was lifted, he informed the King's Guard of what he heard. That's when they discovered the body. I see. Who was the servant? I believe you actually know him. His name is... Oh my god. His name is John Hughes. Wait, Mr. Hughes is here? You never expected to see him again, much less here of all places. Reuse of assets, go! But if he heard the altercation, you definitely want to speak with him. Alright, don't have to think of a new voice. I did not expect that. He's gonna be in his janitor uniform, isn't he? Beatrice Frega. Unlocking a lot of information about the defendant. From the way you're both acting, you and Aster seem to know her. Okay, this is the same as when I presented her. Alright. So for now... Oh, wait, no, it was not the same. Oh, crud. Okay, never mind. Let's see where it differs. Here. None of us knew where she had gone. She ignored any attempts we made to contact her. She even used her magic to prevent us from scrying her. Scrying means to, like, kind of like a magic ball thing where you can, like, find other people. Last night's ball was the first time in years. Okay. So that's the same. So the only detail they added was the scrying part, which I saw, like, really quickly. Alright, cool. I think that should be... Nope, there's more. The meeting. Would you happen to know why Beatrice was meeting with her father after all these years? I have some ideas, but nothing concrete. I was hoping you could tell me. Timora and Beatrice have both refused to disclose anything about their meeting. Damn it. What could that meeting have been about? Speaking of which, I haven't seen Timora anywhere in the manor. As a defendant's attorney, I would have thought that she had been here to investigate the murder alongside you. That is strange. Miss Timora had always had her own ways of doing things. Perhaps she's using a different strategy. Anyways, I imagine that she met with her father to request financial aid. Why do you say that? I have it on good authority that she was deeply in debt. That's the only reason why she would speak with her father after all these years. It's also why I believe she murdered her father. So you think she murdered him for his inheritance? It's the only motive that makes sense. Alright, there's a lot to work through here. The prosecution will try to assert that Beatrice committed the murder. But what would she have needed to do in order to carry out all the actions described? Oh, it's brain time! So, the first thing we need to do is narrow down the time in which the murder occurred. When did the murder occur? The body was discovered after the lockdown was lifted. And Leif Frega saw her father alive before it was activated. He entered his study and she watched him as the locking was engaged. So, when did the murder occur? So, its cause occurred before or after? I mean, a sword was found. I mean, the murder had to occur. There are too many options on this part, so I'm getting a little like. Okay, so we're gonna compare the lockdown last night, sword was found, or Beatrice's departure. So found or stolen? I mean, the murder had to occur before the sword was found. No, if we assume that Leif's testimony is correct, William Frega was alive before the lockdown was triggered. I mean, the sword wasn't found until after the murder. So, yeah. Not only that he said that he would stay in the study for the rest of the night. Oh, wait, well, I misread that. Which meant that he probably never left his study. Okay, so we're gonna refer to that. The thing is, like, I feel like a lot of these statements could work because they gave too many subjects and too many, like, objects here that actually work together. The theft occurred before the lockdown. That's just factually true. But, okay, when did the murder occur, though? So, this is specifically the murder. So, okay, I think this is what they're trying to say. The murder occurred after the lockdown. No? Okay. Never mind. What do they mean by Beatrice's departure? That when we saw her and she was all angry and stuff? Oh, whoa. Oh. I feel so dumb. There was a daring option. The right answer was the murder occurred during the lockdown. Right, the murder must have occurred during the lockdown. But that means that the murderer somehow got past the abjuration wards that protected this room. These wards block teleportation, and they magically lock the only door leading into this room. Steelwind and the Inquisition believe that Beatrice used the Sword of Spell Eating to get past them. Regardless of what they think, we need to assume that the murderer used some kind of magic nullification to get into William's study. But that's not necessarily true, is it? What if the murderer entered the room before William locked it? If they're in the room when William locked it, they would have been trapped here until he decided to leave. Not only that, they would have been discovered the moment the guards entered his study. Maybe they used some kind of invisibility? Or they could have teleported the moment the King's Guard unlocked the door? Teleportation didn't occur. We didn't find any traces of conjuration magic. What about Celeste's theory of an invisible assailant? I'll admit that we did try and find traces of illusion magic. But at the moment the guards saw the body, one of them cast Detect Magic. With that spell, they would have seen any invisible people hiding in this room. Wait, you gonna use Detect Magic like that? Of course, it's standard procedure. Like all spells, invisibility leaves traces of magic on a person that's cast on. So mages can use Detect Magic as a way to see through invisibility. So we need to know for sure that they weren't here before or after the lockdown. This means that whoever committed the murder used some kind of way to bypass the abjuration wards that protected this room. Method of entry. The murderer somehow entered William Frega's study despite it being protected with abjurative wards. These wards magically lock the only door leading into this room. They also prevent teleportation in and out of the room. It is possible to temporarily nullify these wards with the Sword of Spell Eating. The next thing to consider is the murder weapon. Where did the murder weapon come from? It was a letter opener that was presumably owned by William Frega. The murderer probably used it to avoid leaving evidence that incriminated them. I thought it was this. The murderer took the murder weapon in Frega's study. Right. The letter opener came from this room. The murderer probably wanted to avoid using a weapon that would have implicated them. They decided to use it and leave it here after the deed was done. But that leaves a glaring hole in the prosecution's case. And what would that be, Mr. Cuthbert? What's the flaw with the prosecution's case? Is it gonna be that Beatrice Frega is completely blind? Beatrice Frega is completely blind. Even if she were somehow able to break into a highly guarded exhibit, how did she slip past the guards and enter Lord Frega's study? Furthermore, how did she locate the letter opener if she couldn't see it in the first place? None of it makes sense. Committing this murder unseen would have been a tall order for anyone. I can hardly believe a blind person did all of this. You'd do well not to underestimate her, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You don't know her as I do. She's far more capable than you realize. She must be the one behind this. I suppose I wouldn't know, but the idea that Beatrice did any of this is still ludicrous. I suppose I can't change your mind about that, but I have to ask you a question, Mr. Cuthbert. What would you do if you discovered that one of your clients was guilty? What? I mean, I tend to have an insight into these sort of things. That would never happen. I've already seen your uncanny ability to read people, but I'm only hypothetically speaking. So, what would you do if they were guilty? I suppose I'd withdraw and tell them to find another lawyer. And if no one else would represent them? I don't know. It would definitely be a hard choice for me. But I would never be able to represent them if I knew the truth. I just can't stand by and let a murderer escape justice. I see. Why do you ask? No reason. Okay, that's what's gonna lead us into being the prosecution. Anyways, she's made her stance clear. You still have a lot of leads to follow up on. You should move somewhere else. Gotcha, let's go to the storage room. Actually, Beatrice... It's the same room as Miriam's. Come on, Tracker, where are you? As you enter Beatrice's room, you're unexpectedly met with a large cloud of dust. Wow, this place has not been cleaned. Oh, that's Leaf. Okay, oh no, it's another female. Oh. Your vision clears up and you realize that there's someone else in the room. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. No, there's no need to apologize. But I would like to know what you're doing here. We're here on the behalf of the Crown Prince. We're investigating the murder of William Frega. Oh, I see. My apologies, I didn't quite get your name. My name is Leaf. Leaf Frega. Leaf Frega, occupation, noble. So this is Leaf. According to Steelwind, she was the last person to see Lord Frega alive yesterday. She might have some information about how he was acting that night. Let's see this room. It's a highly extravagant bed. It looks similar to the one in Miriam's dorm. It's a dresser covered in a layer of dust. It doesn't look quite like it's been touched in years. Ah. It's a table for guests, but it's extremely dusty. Alright, that should be all in the room, I believe. Detect magic.
Arcane.
Oh, what is this? Ah. There's traces of transmutation magic under the bed. I can't see it clearly. Let me take a closer look. It's her sword. It's Crimson Lotus. What? It's my sword. What? You never knew her sword had a name. So this is where it had been. But why would it be here? This is also the room where they found the sword of spell eating. Are the two thefts related somehow? But why? The only thing similar about them is that they're both swords. There's definitely more to this, but what? Celeste's sword has been updated. You later found the missing sword. Was found. Okay. I was like, I misread that, right? You later found that the missing sword was found in Beatrice's bedroom. This was also the room where the sword of spell eating was found after it was stolen. Are these two elements related somehow? Alright. Let's present you with some stuff. So what do you think about your sister? I'm sure Beatrice's return must have been surprising for you. It is. To be honest, I've been hoping for years that she'd finally return. But now that she had just gotten pulled into another one of our family messes. What about Miriam? What's your relationship like with Miriam? My youngest sister? I actually don't see her that much. Really? Even though you're sisters? Our lives as nobles keep us very busy. We rarely have the chance to speak with each other. And ever since Beatrice fled the estate, she's been throwing herself into her schoolwork. Ah, but what about your daddy? That man. He was my father, but I can't say I have fond memories of him. He must have been difficult to deal with. You have no idea. He was cruel, tyrannical, and only ever cared about his own legacy. He was unwilling to sacrifice anything and anyone to maintain his power and status, including his own daughters. It sounds like his treatment of Beatrice was particularly harsh. It was! He never saw her as a worthy successor to our family legacy simply because she was a woman. Even after her accident, he used her disability as an excuse to strip her of any power she had left. I can only imagine how difficult that must have been for all of you. It's been a constant struggle, but we managed to survive. As bad as it sounds, now that he's gone, we might have a chance to rebuild our family. Yikes. Man, you must have been a monster in that regard. What about this? What can you tell me about this, Lady Frega? My apologies, I don't think I'll be much help with that. Did you know I'm an attorney, please? No. This is me. I've heard of you. You're the defense attorney that everyone's talking about. Wow. I didn't expect you to know who I was. Ah, yes. Many nobles are uneasy due to your recent actions. It's very clear that no one is safe from you. Oh. Alright. The only profile that I think will work, other than myself. Tell me about yourself. No, you can't even tell me about yourself. Wow, alright. What'd you see? I'm sorry for your loss, Lady Frega, but do you mind if I ask you some questions about last night? Of course. Prosecutor Steelwind told us that you're the last person to see him alive. Did you notice anything unusual about your father's behavior? Well, he was extremely upset about something. I think Beatrice may have offended him during their meeting. The servant said that he wanted to be left alone. He retreated into his study immediately after the meeting. I tried to speak with him when the theft was reported, but he didn't care about the missing artifact. He told me to leave him alone and let the King's God investigate the sword, but he was probably busy making changes to his will. Now that's an interesting thought. When did you speak with him last? It was before they activated the lockdown. It was a little after 1 AM that last night. Let's see. Leaf's testimony has been updated, so it's just a little bit after 1 AM. Okay. Oh, they also added the adjustments to his will. And do you have any ideas about what he was doing in his study? What? No, I have no idea. You detect some fear from her. Lady Frega, is there something you're not telling us? It's important that we know about your father's actions before his death. I'm sorry, I don't know anything else. My father was a private man and didn't share much with anyone, even his own family. I wish I could be of more help, but I really don't know anything. I refuse to believe that's why he was killed. She's clearly holding something back. If you can reveal what she's hiding through an argument, she might become more willing to cooperate. We'll need some more info about William and his will first. In the meantime, you should figure out more about what else she knows. Beatrice's room. I noticed that this room hasn't been cleaned recently. Do you know why? It's because I've forbidden the the servants from cleaning this room. Aw, look at her. And why would you do that? Beatrice is very dear to me, and I couldn't bear to have her room disturbed after she left. This room was the only memory I had of her after she left. You suppose that makes sense. She must have been holding on to the hope that her sister would return. And what about the sword of spell eating? Do you know how it ended up in this room? I'm not sure. It's possible that someone planted it here to frame Beatrice. I can't say why they would choose this room though. William Frega, what kind of person was your father? Oh, every emotion but happy. It doesn't look like William Frega was very beloved. My father was a complicated man. He was a brilliant scholar and businessman, but he was a cold and distant father. I see. Did he have any enemies? As the head of House Frega, he controlled nearly every banking house in Wyvengard. There are many people who resented his wealth and power. Can you remember anyone specific? Perhaps someone that he'd slighted recently? There was Lloyd von Sanctus, the ruling Lord of Oranax. Ah, that prick! Yes, I heard that he was recently involved in a court case. I don't know anything about that. He said there's someone after nobles, and he's trash at chess, but he keeps cheating. My father has been using the controversy as an opportunity to slowly take control of Von Sanctus Industries. Oh wow, man, he's such a snake. And from what I've heard, he's been extremely bitter about that. Von Sanctus's reputation must have taken a hit after the Dracogen trials. You doubt that he'll get himself involved in another murder? You can never be too sure. You'll want to speak with him and get more details. He's not going to be happy to see us. Although, would he even consider cooperating with you? Anyways, are there any enemies that he might have had? No, none that I can think of. Beatrice Frega. What can you tell me about Beatrice Frega? I heard that she fled the Frega estate 5 years ago. Before she left, Beatrice was one of the most powerful mages I'd ever seen. She is incredible. At the age of 18, her talent for magic had even eclipsed my father's. But it was never enough for him. What do you mean? Before my mother died, he desperately wanted a son, but he had only ever had daughters. Everyone thought that Beatrice would inherit House Frega from my father, but our family knew the truth. William Frega would never leave his legacy in the hands of a woman. What? No matter how hard Beatrice tried, my father would never acknowledge her accomplishments. He was extremely cruel to her. He constantly belittled her achievements and dismissed anything she said to him. And after the accident, he used her disability as an excuse to take away the little influence she had. There was an accident that gave her a disability. Is that why she's blind? The accident. If it's not too painful for you, can you tell me more about Beatrice's accident? Is this even relevant to the investigation? Any small detail could make a difference. I need to learn everything I can. I'm not so sure about exactly what happened, but it was a magical experiment gone wrong. Beatrice was working on a project at the Imperial Academy. She was trying to create a new spell formula. We're still not sure what happened, but there was an adverse magical reaction. The resulting explosion seriously injured her and left her completely blind. I can't imagine how she must have taken that. I kind of wonder if that experiment gave her like the bane of being blind, but maybe potentially a boon in some other way. And maybe that's how she is able to commit this murder, maybe? Actually, she was probably the most unfazed by what happened. Oh, what? But that didn't matter. My father saw his opportunity. He told me that he was relieving her of her duties so that she could recover. But I knew the truth. He was going to take away her political power and social standing. She was reduced to a mere decoration for our home. And that must have been why she left. Did she contact you during the time she was missing? No. No one had heard from her during that time. But as much as I was worried for her, I was also a little happy. Unlike Miriam and I, she had finally broken free from my father. I have no idea what would have caused her to return here. You think you've learned everything that you can for now. Perhaps you should move elsewhere. So we'll be back for that psychological profile. So I think the only other place is the storage room. Hey Jan, are you here? You enter the storage room hoping to investigate the air vent that connects to the Lord Frega study. This room looks awfully modern for a medieval setting. Hey, that's just a normal light. When you come across a person laying on the floor. What? Jan, is that you? I'm calling it. Same attire. I knew it! Oh, man. What's with all the noise? I was having such a good nap, too. Mr. Hughes. Whoa, it's you two. Why are you taking a nap in the storage room? I needed to take a break from all the chaos going on. The King's Guard won't let us leave until they finish investigating the murder. And this pompous noble shooed me away when I tried sleeping on one of the other couches. I didn't expect anyone to find me here. Did I say coaches? No, it's a couches. Anyways, the prosecutor told us that you heard the murder from here during the lockdown. Do you think you could tell us what happened? Sure, why not? My nap is kind of ruined anyways. Oh man, I haven't seen you in a while. I actually didn't dislike him. He was very truthful and I kind of like giving him this voice. There are several boxes in this room. They appear to contain various cleaning supplies. Oh wow, that is literally Elwyn. Okay. There's an air vent that leads into Lord Frega's study. Supposedly, Jan heard the altercation between Lord Frega and his assailant through this. Woo! Okay. Detect magic. No magic. Alright, time to present stuff. He doesn't know I'm an attorney even though I've already brought him to court. What about me? Man, I never thought I'd see you two again. Trouble seems to follow you wherever you go. I think it's more that we tend to follow trouble wherever it appears. Nah, we're a magnet for trouble. Alright, I wonder if he'll react to Miriam or Beatrice or the father. So no Miriam, no Beatrice, and no father. Wow, he literally did not react to any of the evidence, I believe. Except for, like, myself. Well, okay then. I guess we'll just talk. John Hughes. So you're working as a servant now? Not exactly. I was part of the catering staff. The twins started their own food business after Frega threw us out of the academy. Oh, right. Now that both the principal and that asshole teacher, Bellwether, was gone, Frega, I guess their family had control over the school. Oh man, it's kind of unfortunate because, like, they didn't really seem to do anything wrong, but yeah. Right, sorry about that. No, it's not your fault. Even if Redmond was still headmaster, I'm sure the board would have found some other way to get rid of us. Wait, are Valentina and Valerie here too? No, they just contracted some of the staff to Lord Frega for the Lord's Ball. I think a bunch of other businesses did the same thing. You wonder how they feel about this. They lent their services to the very man who got them fired in the first place. William must have offered them a lot of gold. Yeah, that is kind of yikes. Man, I can't believe I got myself pulled into another murder investigation. Do I have bad luck or what? The prosecution told us that you heard the altercation through the air vent. Could you tell us exactly what you heard? Well, I didn't hear everything.
I was taking a nap in this room when it happened.
Why were you napping here?
I didn't have a choice. I accidentally closed the door when the lock was engaged. Before I knew it, I was trapped here.
Right, your call steal when mentioning that.
Anyways, I heard the sound of some kind of struggle going on. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard Lord Frega shout, "Who are you? What do you want?" They went on for a few seconds. Then I heard the sound of someone getting stabbed.
They stabbed, not slashed? Did you hear the voice of the assailant?
They didn't say anything, but I did hear them. Their voice is really raspy. I think they had a sore throat or something.
Raspy? Or they were trying to mask their voice. What Jan heard. Jan Hughes was trapped in a storage room near William Frega's study. He took a nap, but was awoken to the sound of some kind of physical struggle. He heard Frega shout, "Who are you? What do you want?" After a few more seconds, he heard the sound of someone being stabbed. Wait, we know someone else that was stabbed. There's no way. The other person that was stabbed was Steelwind. Interesting. No, Steelwind got stabbed a lot later, I'm pretty sure. That's what, Wallace said. Whatever. Storage room. Why did you enter the storage room anyways?
The servants were complaining about rats running through the air vents, so they sent me to take care of it. I heard one of them was running in the vents upstairs, and I followed it here. I figured I had nowhere else to go, so I opened it up
and put a trap down. I will say, one of the reasons why I like voicing him was like, it just happened now too, but I was like mid-yawn for like the last like 5 lines, but it still sounded normal, and it's very perfect because he's also yawning right now.
After I was done, I tried to leave, but the door was locked. I didn't have anything else to do, so I took a nap.
Rats in the vents. Ugh, that really? Wow, I didn't expect rats to be in this aristocratic house, this mansion. I guess it's a big place. The servants have been frequently complaining about the sound of rats running through the vents. John tried to track one of them down and followed it to the storage room. Okay, that's gonna have something to do with this spell probably, the familial bond. I mean, maybe it was a monkey. I'm being unusually suspicious of, that dude also. He only heard a few words before the murderer struck the final blow. It doesn't give you much to go on, but his testimony could become relevant later. For now, you should probably move elsewhere and gather more information. Where else can we move, though? The sitting room. This is a long investigation. You explore the manor further and find one of its many sitting rooms. And there, you happen to spot a very familiar face. He's sipping on a glass of wine, and his expression turns disdainful the moment you enter the room. Oh, wonderful. As if my day couldn't have gotten any worse. Bon Sanctus, what are you doing here? The head of a noble house has just been murdered. I can't very well return to Oranax when my affairs are in such disarray. Anyways, forget what I'm doing here. What are you doing here? Oh, I just want to have a friendly chat with one of my favorite noblemen. I hear that you've been keeping busy since we last met. It must be difficult, losing your empire to House Frega. Oh, you son of a bitch. Tyrion, we do need his help. Is that so? And what makes you think I'd ever help the likes of you? Because it would take suspicion off of you. And let's face it, with your reputation, you could use all the help you can get. How dare you! I'll have you know that I'm still a respected member of the nobility. Respected? Is that why everyone's talking about your hand in Justin Way's death? Because the way I see it, being involved in another scandal would destroy what little remains of your reputation. But it makes no difference to me, and to be perfectly honest, I'd like nothing more than to drag you to the stand and embarrass you a second time. You can practically hear him grinding his teeth together. Very well. If it means I won't have to endure your presence any longer, I'll oblige and answer your questions. I kinda like this actually. Oh, look at this. This looks like a scene from a JRPG. It's a painting of some adventurers in a tavern. Oh man, that looks really good. That's so cool. This must be Beatrice Frega the First. The First? Wait, Beatrice is... Oh! Beatrice Frega was the founding member of House Frega, it seems. One of the people that was bestowed powers by the dragon or whatever. And Beatrice is a female name, so that means that the founder of this house was female. The first? According to legend, he was one of the descendants of the 7 heroes of Wyvern. Oh no, she was one of the descendants, never mind. She joined a band of adventurers that were traveling across the nation. It's hard to imagine the Fregas coming from such humble beginnings. What the? That guy disappeared! Oh my god, oh, every time that happens I get a chill down my spine. What are you doing, Eris? You're here? Wait, what? What is it now? That muscular man in the corner, he just vanished. What are you on about? There was never a man there. Sorry, Tyrion, but he's right. No, I'm sure he was there. Are you feeling okay? Perhaps your lack of sleep is making you see things that aren't there. Oh my god. Detect magic. No magic. Alright. I want to see what happens if I do this again. Supposedly, blah blah blah. But you can't help but feel that there should be someone in the top left corner. That's creepy, man. It's a chair made from mahogany. Every part of the house just exudes wealth. The wealth that has been siphoned out of the common folk. There's a window with a view of the outside. It's a shelf filled with books. Fake books, they're completely blank. There's a door that leads into a hallway. Perhaps I should have considered locking it to keep out the undesired guests. Oh man, he hates us so much, and I'm living for it. As if every room in this house needs a chandelier. What a waste of the kingdom's gold. Did you know that I am an attorney? What do you think about this, Von Sanctus? Ha! I doubt I can say anything meaningful. Ask someone else. Okay. Alright, what about your favorite person? Me. I really hoped that I'd seen the last of you in Oranax. And I really hope that you're not involved in what happened to William Frega. Please, as if I'd even humor such preposterous accusations. I present Timora. You and that woman. You two do nothing but weave chaos into the nobility. And with how you aristocrats abuse your power, I take that as a compliment. As usual, that Steelwind brat is sticking her nose where it doesn't belong. I take that you're not a fan of House Steelwind? Fan? Hardly. Those brutes have no place in our civilized kingdom. And yet, I can't help but feel like you'd never say that to her face. Beatrice Frega. Okay, what can you tell me about the suspect in this case? What? She's your client? Surely you would know her better than I do. Humor me. Well, I'm sure you're aware that she fled the Frega estate 5 years ago. In doing so... Oh my god, my voice is changing so much for him. In doing so, she not only dealt a blow to House Frega's reputation, but she also directly insulted the Crown Prince by breaking her engagement to him. Wait, that means she was engaged to him until 5 years ago, but like I thought he and Steelwind were engaged for a much longer period of time. Wait, Beatrice was engaged to Aster? Yes, I'm giving him the same voice as Harold Haraldson at this point, but I feel like it kind of fits him. I'll try to change it back. Yes, but it was quite a scandal at the time, and Lucio wasted no time in forcing his daughter into taking Beatrice's place. Oh, is that why those three were so awkward last night? Honestly, this situation is just an absolute mess, and that woman's return will complicate things. Beatrice's return will complicate things? What do you mean by that? Leaf. I presented Leaf. I'm sure she'll use William's death as yet another excuse to further avoid her obligations. She just lost her father. What is wrong with you? William Frega may be dead, but his daughters must carry out their roles, lest their house's reputation suffer. Is that all you care about? The reputation of noble houses? What about justice for William Frega? Justice? Justice is just an illusion for you commoners to cling on to, but for us, justice is simply a favorable outcome. The Frega family has always been influential, but with William's death, their power has been diminished. And with Leaf's reluctance to fulfill her duties, the Frega name will continue to suffer. You're absolutely despicable. William Frega, even in death, he still remains a thorn in my side. At least now, he won't meddle in my affair. No one's commenting on, Frega's name. Alaric. I mean, kind of sucks, so I don't blame him, but still. Oh, he comments on Haroldson. Harold Haroldson? I kind of sound like him. I couldn't care less about that quack's personal affairs. He can find financial aid elsewhere. Alright, I think I'm done. Von Sanctus' motive. Honestly, it's just one mess after another with you. Mess? Wouldn't you have much to gain from William Frega's death? On the surface level, you might be right, but it's far more complicated than that. House Frega controls the banking houses. They are the main pillars of support for Wyverngod's economy. William's death could have unimaginable economic consequences, regardless of who inherits his house. I wouldn't be foolish enough to do something like that. That remains to be seen. Ha! Think what you will. There are others who would benefit from William Frega's death. Alright, main suspect. You mentioned that the other people would benefit from Frega's death. Who specifically? Well, if I had to venture a guess, I would say Lucio Steelwind benefits the most. You mean the prosecutor's father? Well, you just said that Lord Frega's death could have unimaginable consequences for the economy. Ha! Do you think that brute cares about Wyverngod's economy? No, all that man cares about is power. Pure and physical power. House Steelwind and House Frega have been fighting for control of Wyverngod for generations. And in this long-lasting era of peace, the Steelwind's military have become far less valuable to the crown. If it weren't for Lady Steelwind's engagement to the Crown Prince, they might have not even be considered a pillared family anymore. The death of William Frega is probably exactly what Lucio Steelwind has been waiting for. And if our economy were to suffer, it would cause civil unrest. In a scenario like that, the Crown would have to rely on Steelwind's forces to maintain order. That does make sense, but could Arya's father really be involved with this? Other suspects. It's clear that you think Lucio Steelwind would have much to gain from this. Well, can you think of anyone else? Well, there is Harold Haroldson. That can't be his real name. But what would Mr. Haroldson possibly gain from Frega's death? From what I heard, William was planning to defund the Haroldson Hall of History. Really? Why would he do that? I'm not sure of the specifics, but supposedly, Lord Haroldson has refused to omit the less flattering parts of Wyverngod's history from his exhibits. It's gotten blatant enough that he's drawn the ire of the king himself. They actually got in a very heated argument during the Lord's Ball about it. I heard that William declared that he would be removing House Haroldson from his estate. You don't want to suspect Mr. Haroldson, but you need to examine every possibility. Oh man, I'm gonna be honest, I had two guesses, and the two guesses were that Beatrice was actually guilty, and I think that's my main guess. My other one was, it might be Harold Haroldson, because a lot of the stuff happening around the area, such as like, just an example, like the mice thing, and I don't know, something else. I felt like Haroldson could have been in position to use that, so like, I wasn't sure. As a curator, he would have the easiest access to the Sword of Spell Eating, and he could have staged a robbery to cover his own tracks. At the very least, you should give Haroldson a chance to explain himself. Oh man, this is super long. Beatrice Frega. What can you tell me about the defendant in this case? Alright, this is the same as when I presented her profile. Alright, so Beatrice's return. Do you find Beatrice's return to be inconvenient for you? What are you on about now? Please, don't insult my intelligence, Von Sanctus. Fine. If you must know, my son was arranged to marry William's daughter, Leif. Leif? Oh wait, he has a son? I mean, that makes sense, he's 45. Yeah. Since Beatrice showed no signs of returning, it was apparent that Leif would inherit House Frega instead of her. I know when my days are numbered, so I took preemptive action. William wanted a male heir. I need to preserve my house, so we both came to an accord. My son and Leif were arranged to be wed. House Von Sanctus would have been absorbed, but at least my Jaden would stand at the helm of House Frega. You nobles are absolutely awful. I should probably consider myself lucky. Think what you will. I wouldn't expect a commoner to understand. She's probably royalty. I had just had this thought when I kept like emphasizing that Celeste is probably royalty, aka related to Aster. But like, if this like continues on, if Tyrion marries Celeste, who is related to Aster, who is married to Arya, we'd all be a happy family. That's not very happy sometimes, I guess. That's the problem with your generation. You have no sense of duty or obligation. Leaf has already expressed resistance to this marriage, even though she was well aware of the details. Now I worry she'll hide behind her sister to end the engagement altogether. Oh, Leaf's engagement. Leaf Frega was due to be married to Jaden von Sanctus. This arranged marriage was facilitated by William Frega and Lloyd von Sanctus. As a part of this diplomatic marriage, House von Sanctus would be absorbed by House Frega. In return, Jaden would inherit the entirety of House Frega from William. Leaf knew how this marriage would affect the future of House Frega. She has expressed resistance to the diplomatic marriage and has been stalling for time. Lloyd von Sanctus von Sanctus worries that William Frega's death could cancel their marriage altogether. Leaf never mentioned any of this. As much as you hate to think about it, William's death would get her out of this arranged marriage. You should talk to her about this. Anyways, von Sanctus gave you a decent list of suspects. You probably learned everything you can from him for now. It's best to move and follow up on these leads. Alright, so there's the gallery where we're probably going to meet Harold Haraldson. But I think I'm going to... Where's this bedroom? I think I'm going to do the Leaf thing and finish up the episode. So we'll do the argument. Oh wait, the psychological profile isn't done yet though. Can I still do it? We'll try. But I think I'm gonna do this argument and get finished talking to Leaf before continuing. Before ending it for today. What was William doing? Argument. Leaf Frega seems to be hiding what her father was doing in his study. You doubt that she's doing this out of malice. She might not even think that it's relevant to the case. But William Frega had many enemies, and he retreated into his study to do something that night. And that something could be related to why he was murdered. Start an argument with Leaf Frega. You haven't completed her psychological profile. I'll present this first. Let's see. What can you tell me about this? Wait, what? You can't tell me about your engagement? Huh. I didn't actually know you can do an argument without completing the psychological profile. But like, I guess it's possible, but you know what? I actually don't want to do it unless I have it completed. You know what? Yeah, we'll go to the gallery. You return to the gallery and see a legion of knights inspecting the crime scene. However, you don't see Mr. Haraldson anywhere. Oh! The Inquisition must be questioning him. Perhaps you should follow another lead while you wait for him to return. Oh, wow. Different stuff. Oh, we already saw this, but we have Celeste with us this time. Let's see. This painting, supposedly his name is Dr. Luv Keffer. He was an alchemist, blah blah, he's well known, blah blah. Intelligent automatons like arcane constructs? Supposedly, blah blah. Okay, so yeah, it's the same thing, but with Celeste chiming in once in a while. I'll see if there's anything different. Wait, it was a painting of researcher. Supposedly his name is Professor Matt Ferlin. He was a professor in combinational magic theory. What's that? I have no idea. The display was holding the earrings of vitality, which are still there. Yeah, whoever stole the artifact ignored it. The display case that has the armband of intellect is empty. The display case is completely shattered. The thief was able to do this despite there being several abjuration spells protecting it. Huh, so how did this disappear? The case is still here.
Repario Arcanum!
Oh, Jesus. There are traces of evocation magic on the shattered glass. Evocation is a school of magic that creates and unleashes raw energy. Oh, it is the most primal of the 7 schools of magic. Someone must have used a powerful spell to blast the display case apart. I see. I'm actually kind of lost. What do you do next? Where should we go? Where should we go next? Von Sanctus was surprisingly helpful. We should talk to Leaf again. We can use the new information we've gained to probe her. And there's also Haraldson. Even if he's not involved in this, I'd like to ask him a few more questions about the gallery's security. That might help us to figure out how the sword of spell eating was stolen. I mean, I guess we're not supposed to complete a profile. I wanted that information, but maybe I need to present some other stuff? Screw it, I have no idea. Let's get into this argument now. Go! Argument. Is there something you're not telling us, Leaf? Because I have a feeling that you know more than you're letting on. What? What was your father doing in his study? I already told you, I don't know. I have no idea what my father was doing. My father was a private man. He wouldn't share something like that with me. Do I have what it takes to break the first barrier? Maybe this? Yeah. He was making some sort of change to his will, wasn't he? What? Did someone else tell him? Why did you find the need to hide this from us? I didn't! The thoughts you saw earlier seem to disagree with that. We only just met today, so I understand if you don't trust us. But the Inquisition thinks that Beatrice murdered your father, and they claim that she did so for his inheritance. That's absolutely absurd! Regardless, your father's inheritance is likely a motive behind his murder. Many people would have a lot to gain from his death, including you. Excuse me? I was not involved in this. How could you even think that I'd be capable of something like this? Let's see. I'm not so sure. You're the last person to see your father alive. It's possible that you've been lying to us. I didn't mean to imply that you were involved in this, but it's clear that the murderer's motive was to take control of House Frega. The prosecution clearly won't shy away from prosecuting members of your family. If your sister is truly innocent, where do you think they'll turn their attention to next? Kinda wanna go with this. Nope! It doesn't matter what I think. The prosecution clearly won't shy away from prosecuting members of your family. You were the last suspect to see your father alive, so if your sister is truly innocent, where do you think they'll turn their attention to next? Please, do you think I'll respond to such empty threats? I have cooperated with the Inquisition. I have nothing to hide. So I don't have her profile, but I feel like she's more feeling rather than like facts and logic. So I mean, although this does make more sense, I'm gonna go with doubt. Damn it! I'm not so sure. You're the last person to see your father alive. It's possible that you've been lying to us. What could I have possibly gained by doing that? I gave my testimony to the Inquisition of my own volition. If I had been truly involved, I would have simply stayed silent. Right, she has a point there. Alright. I didn't mean to imply that you were involved in this, but it's clear that the murder motive was to take control of House Frega. That means that their plan heavily relied on who William Frega was leaving his assets to. Ugh. So I need to know, Miss Frega, how was your father planning to change his will? I don't know. I was never aware of the details of my father's will. I already told you, my father was a secretive man. He didn't share the details of his estate with me. I think it's this. Is that really true though? What? I already know about your arranged marriage to Jaden Von Sanctus. And I also know that as a part of this deal, Jaden would inherit House Frega instead of you. You definitely knew about this, and you heavily resisted the marriage in an attempt to stall it. Which means that you had some idea of how your father's will was arranged. So what aren't you telling me, Miss Frega? I can't trust you. What? You're here on the behalf of Crown Prince Aster. The Four Pillar families and the Crown have much to gain from my father's death. How can you assure me that this information won't be used against my family? So that's why she's been so secretive. Oh, appeal, rationalize, and threaten. There's nothing I could possibly say to you to make you trust me, but please understand, I'm only trying to find out who murdered your father. I may have been hired by Prince Aster, but I'm an independent agent. I have no stakes in this conflict. I was only hired to arrive at the truth. I'll arrive at the truth one way or another, but if you refuse to cooperate with me, I'll have no choice but to treat you as another suspect. I'm gonna go with appeal. I feel like this one works. There's nothing I could possibly say to make you trust me, but please understand, I'm only trying to find out who murdered your father. And to do that, I need to know everything that he was doing that night. You know, I feel like that is a really bad argument if it was coming from anyone other than Tyrion, because like, Tyrion has a track record of getting the truth out of people. Well, not the truth out of people, but like, trying to find the truth despite all the barriers that, you know, different noble houses would be. So, yeah, you know, fine. Argument 1. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get her profile, but like, I didn't know how to get it. I don't know if you couldn't get her profile. I'm assuming that you could, but I kind of wanted to see the profile so I could learn a little bit more about her. I have no reason to trust you, but somehow, I can tell that you're being sincere. Will you really protect Beatrice? You're about to reassure her that you will, but something in the back of your mind stops you. I'll get to the truth of what really happened. Okay, if that's truly what you're planning to do, I'll tell you what I know. What was William doing? I wasn't trying to be uncooperative, but I didn't know who I could trust. Considering the circumstances, that is perfectly understandable. I'm not sure why, but my father was extremely upset that night. According to him, Beatrice had returned and was even more impudent than before. He must have been angry about something that she said during their meeting. Did he tell you what their meeting was about? He didn't, and I honestly didn't really care. I was just so happy that my sister had finally returned. My father clearly felt the opposite. Before he entered his study, he told me that he would be pruning the family tree. He's going to disinherit my sister and several other family members. He probably started drafting a new will to reflect that decision. William Frega's inheritance has been updated, so... yeah, the meeting didn't end as planned, and Beatrice angered William Frega enough for him to declare that he would be disinheriting her. That and many of the other family members. Has anyone found the draft of this will? No, it was one of the first things that I looked for after the investigation began. The modified will is missing? You doubt that it would even be enforced. You never got a chance to submit it for probate before you died. But you can't discount the possibility that the murder destroyed it. Did anyone else know about this? Not one. I didn't even tell Lady Steelwind when she was questioning me. Because it would have given Beatrice a motive to commit murder? Anyways, thank you, Miss Frega. Mr. Cuthbert? Yes? My sister is not a bad person. There's no way that she'd do something like this. Oh man, I've been speaking a lot, and my voice for her is starting to sound like Steelwind's. Despite what she says, she seems to have some doubts. She's in good hands. Ruby Timora is the one defending her in the trial, after all. I hope so. Anyways, you think you learned everything you can from Leafa? Leaf? Oh, there's only one last person you need to speak with. Harold Haroldson. Alright. Well, that is where we're gonna end it for today. That was a really long investigation and my throat is parched. But, I think this trial might just go to that one day. I think after this, we're gonna talk to Harold Haroldson. At this point, I'm banking on Harold Haroldson being the criminal, but Beatrice was an accomplice. I don't have anything to back this up, but that's what my gut is saying. I feel like they're really trying to make it seem like Beatrice is the killer by having all these all these coincidences match up to link that she could have done it. But I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of metagaming, but I just feel like that's not it. That ain't it, Chief. So I'm gonna, for now, as of right now, I'm putting my bets on Harold Haroldson. But we'll find out more next time. Hell, we might even complete the case next time. I have no idea how long these cases are because I don't have a good idea of how long they will be. But we'll find out next time. And until then, I will be seeing you. See ya!